I think we all have to be very much aware, Speaker. Some of us, by the way, are in this 40th Parliament in opposition, others when during majority. But I think this is a very special time for all the members in the House, Speaker, at this particular time. How things will evolve in a minority government, if you will. I concur with the member that, yes, we should be doing a number of things. But if we are to call on every member of the House, not only in representing our own constituency, Speaker, but this is a time when we have to work all together on behalf of all the people of Ontario. Because whatever we decide not only affects the people in Parkdale or in York West, it affects the entire province of Ontario. And more than ever, it's important that we do deal with the issues at hand. Health care, education, long-term care, nursing, daycare, all wonderful things. But you know, Speaker, one thing that very seldom we say in this House, that we have one taxpayer, and I love my seniors. I love giving more to the people working in a hospital and in nursing homes and the assembly lines. Of course, Speaker, there's no member that doesn't want to do that, Speaker. But the reality is this: where are we getting the money from to give it to somewhere else? And I think this is where we have to come together. So I hope in the days and months ahead we can all work together on those very issues, Speaker. Thank you.
The member from Huron-Bruce.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I really appreciated our member from Parkdale High Park's passion and her commitment to her constituents, because I too see where she can wear her heart on her sleeve as well. But I particularly appreciated how she astutely pointed out the follies of the government source of economic consultations as opposed to listening to the folks in Ontario that really matter. And I congratulate her for pointing that out, because I agree with her. And we need to make life more affordable in Ontario for the average family. We need to get rid of government waste, we need to create more jobs, and we have to make life easier in the sense that folks are paying too much. They're beyond their means. And I come back and revisit the conversation that I had with my grandmother, Lorraine Wright. At 95 years of age, she wants to see realistic policies. At 95 years of age, she has no intention of renovating her home, but she would like relief on home heating bills. And so well done on that. And she doesn't, you don't know my grandmother, so don't comment unless you know her. But with that said, I have to say that the member of Parkdale High Park is spot on when she's calling out our government for not listening. And again, it was her colleague from Timiskaming Cochrane that pointed out to the government that they no longer have the government, so it would bestow them to start listening. They no longer have the majority government, and it would bestow them to start listening. And I also would like to extend an invitation to our colleague beside the member from Parkdale High Park to certainly come and visit Huron-Bruce. And again, I will indeed share your warm greetings with the good people from Kippen on your behalf. Good job.
Trinity Spadina.
Thank you, Speaker. And I want to say this. I agree with the member from Parkdale High Park 99% of the time on her speech and speeches that she gives in this legislature. And on this one, 100%. And I also want to respond to the member from York West briefly. Well, there's always a little difference. Not much. But I want to respond to the Attorney General and the member from York West as well, because they both say that we've got to work together. But it's a funny thing, because when we say we got to work together, they disagree with us. But here's the problemo. Tories and New Democrats.
I'd ask the member to not any cross dialogue, to go through the Speaker. Thank you.
Always through the Speaker. Remember, through the Speaker, even if you don't look at him. The point is this, that we passed a bill just the other day, Tories and New Democrats, and remember, the population supported these two parties, and we have greater numbers than you. And it was a profound mistake, I got to tell you, the Liberals made, not to listen to the other side. And see, if I were the Premier, I would have said, the Tories and New Democrats agree on this particular measure, and that is that they should take the HST out of heating costs, and we are going to listen to the will of the majority of people who elected those two parties, and instead he and all of you chose not to listen. It's a serious problem, because when you say we got to work together, but two parties made a serious effort at working together on one issue, and you all decided to oppose it, you got a little problem of credibility. But you got to remember that. Yeah.
Member from Thunder Bay, Atikokan.
Speaker, thank you very much. Pleased to offer a couple of minutes on the remarks by the member from Parkdale High Park. Begin, I think, by talking a bit. She referenced the, as has the member who just sat down, the private members bill last week in the legislature that passed this House, and the member from Huron, Bruce, was referencing that as well. If memory serves me, the member who introduced the legislation quoted the relief to be about $100 annually. And so I think it's important for us, if we're going to talk about that, to put on the record that I guess that comes out to about 25 or 30 cents a day of relief for people in the province of Ontario, should that have passed. Because as usually is discussed in this place when we talk about this issue, they talk about the HST, but they don't talk about the fact that the provincial portion is not the full HST, it's not the full 13%, it's less than that. That's the part that we have some impact on. So I think it's important just to remind people that that comes out, according to the math used by the member of the third party in his legislation, about 25 or 30 cents a day. I mean, it's not that it's unimportant, it's just that I think it provides some context for the discussion. The other thing I'd like to say is the member originally spoke again about the debt and the situation that we find ourselves in the province of Ontario. I spoke a bit about that earlier in my 20 minutes earlier this afternoon, but what we never hear coming from the opposition is some of the projects that occurred in their ridings that they would have preferred we not go forward with. In my riding in Thunder Bay, Atikokan, we've got a whole bunch of things that went forward that did probably contribute to the debt, but that I wasn't going to fight against, I'll tell you that. One of them being Bombardier. There's 800 more people working at Bombardier today than there was in 2003. The total is about 1,200 now, about 800. Many of that directly related to investments we made as a government. Now, I'm not going to fight against those. One of those was a $1.2 billion contract for subway cars here in the City of Toronto. Very good for the City of Toronto. Voted against by some of the Toronto members. Those are projects I'm not going to vote against. I'm going to advocate for my riding in Thunder Bay, Atikokan. Thank you. Thank you.
From Parkdale High Park has 2 minutes.
Thank you to all the members for their contributions and their response. Listen, I live in hope. I really do. I live in hope and approach this minority government situation with great hope and expectations. I hope that we do work together. I hope that my friends across the aisle do come around the table and see that, again, when the majority of Ontarians have in fact given us the majority of the House, that means something, and that our opinion counts for something. So we're at the very beginning of a session, and I look forward to some initiatives from this side of the House coming forward into law, because that's what we're here for, and that's completely possible in a minority government. I'm looking forward to working with them to strengthen their bills, to bring things to their bills that perhaps they didn't think of by way of amendments. Again, in a minority government, completely possible. The voters, the good voters of Ontario, sent us all here, said, please negotiate. Please sit around a common table with a common aim, and that is our welfare. And please come to some common aims and actually see them put into law. That's what we're all here for, Mr. Speaker, all of us. And we all have something to contribute. The truth does not lie any place here. It lies in our cumulative effort, hence the owl and hence the eagle in this House. Listen, You know, keep the government to account. That's what we're charged with here in the opposition. And the government is charged with listening to the opposition to keep them to account. That's all the voters ask for. And I think if we did that, people would vote more frequently. People don't vote because they don't see that. So I live in hope. It is the season. Let's all get along. Let's have some peace. Let's get some work done. Thank you.
Member from Ottawa.